What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some exciting things that we're going to talk about, some heavy hitters, some things that may make people uncomfortable and may make people upset, but we're going to address them on this show because guess what? This is Dr. Anthony's show, and she can talk about whatever the hell she wants to talk about. So Ida will not join us today. She'll be back. She will be back with us on next week. So it'll just be producer Mark Lee and myself. And so, Mark, go ahead and come on out so look, we can get the ball rolling. Let's do it.
No problem. Glad to be on out here with you and seeing what kind of conversations we're going to have and all in that space. And I know that some of your fans will be joining in the conversation. And who knows, they might have some thoughts as well. I know the big thing that's on everybody's mind is the Supreme Court of the United States and the decisions that they've made, everything from affirmative action to whether or not you can reject somebody because you want to have a design and maybe you're having a wedding and you're a member of a certain community and all along those lines to the student loan forgiveness. So there's all kinds of things that they have been talking about and making decisions about, including, I know one of your favorite people. So I know I was on a show earlier today and they were saying, wait a minute, wasn't he a product of affirmative action? And all along those lines, but apparently Clarence has forgot his own background and how he got to some of the schools and the environments that he went to, because definitely he got to Yale probably on affirmative action. He went to some other places probably on affirmative action as well. But, you know, sometimes when the folks get there and they get the position of prominence, they forget from whence they came and all into that space. So it'll be interesting to see whether he gets any pushback from his own community. I understand that sometimes his own parents weren't talking to him at some points and another as well. So who knows what might happen, or if they even recognize him in that part of the country that he is from.
Well, the thing about it, we can go ahead and start with Clarence Thomas, but you have to understand, Clarence Thomas is one of those ones. He's one of those, you know, that we can consider it as a good old boy. So Clarence Thomas always wanted to fit in with the white community. He's always done things to, you know, like it, you know, integrate and immerse himself within the white community. And one of the things when he went to college on affirmative action, he thought that he was going to be accepted because he was there on affirmative action. But in terms, they made him feel less than because he was on, you know, he attended Yale at the expense of affirmative action and things like that or whatever. So it was frowned upon. And so he is frowned upon with affirmative action. And so it is really no, you know, he has no allegiance to any of the things that is supported when it comes to, you know, Black Americans, especially affirmative action, because he did not like it. He hated every minute of it. He hated every second of it because his white counterparts did not accept him, and they did not, in with him being on affirmative action, they did not give him the things that, you know, his counterparts received. But he took it in a sense of, you know, derogatory manner instead of in a sense of, hey, this is how I'm getting to college and this is how I'm supporting myself and this is how I'm going to do what I need to do. Because originally he was supposed to be a priest, and apparently he got into it with, you know, the church, and things just didn't work out. And so he went to law school instead, not taken away from his intellectual ability because he is a smart man, but he just used his intellectual ability in the wrong way. And so with that being said, he was one of the 6 Republicans who voted down SCOTUS, which is referred to as the Supreme Court, who voted down the affirmative action law and overturned it. So what people fail to realize is, you know, we have Black people out here, you know, hooping and yelling and ha-ha, and he ha-ha, and okay, affirmative action is over. We're going to be okay. We're fine because we can function in any capacity because we were given nothing and we have to make something out of nothing every time. So we're going to be okay. Now, you have white folks out here talking about black people wasn't smart enough. That's why they had to input, affirmative action. It's never the idea or the notion that we're not smart enough. We are smart enough. We are capable. The problem is y'all don't like our smartness. Y'all don't like our capabilities. And so you put measures in place to keep us isolated and to keep us out of those entities. And that's why affirmative actions was put into place. But see, the biggest recipient of affirmative action is white women. So guess what, little white women, with your mediocrity and your mediocre selves, now you're gonna have to work for what you get. You know what I'm saying? Because you were the biggest recipient of affirmative action. So now your little mediocrity and all the little mediocre things that you're doing is going to be shown, and you're not going to be accepted based off of that. But you had a place to stand and a leg to stand on because of affirmative action. I don't know if you remember this, Mark, but several years ago, there was this young white woman who was turned away from, I want to say UT Arlington, University of Texas, Arlington. It was one of those. She was turned away. And so she blamed Black Americans and she blamed Asian Americans as the reason why she was turned away. That wasn't the reason why you were turned away. You were just turned away, but she felt that affirmative action had played some role in her not getting into the first college of her choice. And so she felt that, it was because of Black, Asians, and Hispanics that she was not accepted and they filled those slots. No, affirmative actions was to put us in those places because you people always wanted to keep us out. That's why affirmative action was put into place. So she ended up going to LSU. She graduated from LSU with a 4.0, but I stopped following her after that point. But this is what sparked the whole affirmative action and race-based with, colleges and students being allowed in on the race. If she had any problem, it should have been with the Asian community, because the Asians are the ones who are leading in getting into Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and, all of those Ivy League colleges and things like that or whatever. So, I mean, when people say affirmative action, Black folks are riding the coattail. Well, no, we never rode the coattail. You know what I'm saying? Affirmative actions was there so that we had a seat at the table and we could prove that we had the ability and we were able to function among others. The problem was they had a problem with us. And like I said, all the little white people that's running around here want to, rock a Black culture, want to rock the hairstyles, want to do the rap, want to, have the women with the tiny waist with the big asses and, all that stuff. They always want to be Black until it's time to be Black or whatever, because when the Black community, need folks to stand up and speak out, where are they? You hear crickets. So mainly the people that you hear speaking out against, the injustices that that's happening against the Black community and the Black race and Black men are Black women. So when I see a Black man saying some ignorant things about, we didn't need affirmative action or we didn't need this and Black women, this is that, another. You can just take several seats and you can just kick rocks and you can just go somewhere. My dad asked me to stop cursing, so I'm trying to stop cursing. So I made him a promise.
You're trying to be diplomatic and better because your dad
told you that. Diplomatic and better because my dad asked me to stop. He said he watches me, so I'm trying to be better about my word choice and how I deliver my messages and things like that or whatever. So that's why you haven't heard the profanity come out. So but so and it's insulting to a certain degree and to a fault, when you have Black men who are, I like this woman because of this and I like this woman because of that, but you don't like Black women who started it, who's the trendsetters, who did all of this stuff, who put things, out there. We're the trendsetters. We're the blueprint. They're not. They copy everything that we do. They copy the neck rolling. They copy the finger snapping. They copy everything that we do. They copy our language. They copy our swag. They copy our, our slang. They copy everything from us. Because when did you ever see white women out there, doing the things that they're doing now? They copied us. We're the blueprint. We're the standard of beauty. But Western America, Western countries, they always want to say white women is the standard and things like that. White women has, in y'all eyes, white women has been a standard. White women has never been the standard in our eyes because we lead in everything. We lead in entrepreneurship. We lead in college degrees. We lead in pretty much every category out there. And not only do we lead, we dominate. And we show that, I guess another term to say is we are the better one. But, you let society, pick it and, bring stories to life. and they're saying that they are the better ones when in all actuality we are. I mean, because if we let's just look at it, Mark, from a historical point. If we take it back into, you know, slavery, and we talked about this on the show, and we look at white women and their behavior, they were more egregious and more nefarious than white men because of the jealousy and the hate that they had for black women, because the white men wanted fetishized black women, and they wanted the black to bed the black woman and not bed them. And so they put laws in place that, you know, made black women still be inferior to the white woman. For example, you know, when people talk about wearing headdress, you know, that law was put in place because white women had a problem with black women and showing their hair and showing their beauty, because they didn't want the white man looking at the black woman. So, I mean, you know, a lot of things were put in place because of white women. Back in the day during the slavery time, when the white master had his children, white women would kill the master's biracial children. So they had to put a law in place, and you can look all this stuff up. It's out there. It's online, you know. So they put a law in place to protect white women, because the murders were so grand and so massive that they had to do something to protect them because of the jealousy and the rage. It's still like today, the jealousy and the rage. You know, we can't have anything. Like, for example, when we had the Black Girl Follow Train, they had a problem because we had the Black Girl Follow Train. They wanted to be included on the train. That wasn't your damn train. Go get another train. You know what I'm saying? Get your own train. Start your own train.
No, I hear you. We got some people watching. Your buddy is watching, so we got your buddy watching and saying hello to you. And got somebody else saying hello as well. Cynthia Harrison and Nicole Burgess is saying hello as well. And dropping some amens in the space. So we do have some of the fan club that is watching. But, you know, one thing that you brought up, Dr. Anthony, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, is it's not just here. You know, there's a reason that people historically had moved away from the United States, and sometimes even some folks are considering moving away again, depending on what happens with our politics and all of that. But, you know, I've been talking to some folks that have been watching what was going on in France. A Muslim brother was shot and killed by the police, and now folks are worried that a jihad, a Muslim attack is going to happen. But when I did my research, I saw that the gentleman wasn't exactly from a hotbed of militant Muslim kind of community. I'm not saying that he wasn't. I don't know anything about the gentleman, but I do know that he was from Algeria, and I usually think of Algeria and Morocco as being more moderate to liberal and all in that space, and not necessarily being like the PLO and some of the other more militant groups. And actually, I'm a supporter of a Palestinian state and all along those lines. But I was going like, wait a minute, this gentleman is from Algeria. I think he was second or third generation. So it's not like, because somebody was telling me that it was a conspiracy to get more of the Islamic population and to convert folks, because to move them into France and England and a number of the other places. And I'm going like, this man is, I think, third or fourth generation. He probably came over because his grandma was telling folks not to, cause disturbances and to actually try to protest peacefully. But Dr. Anthony, what is your thoughts about this notion of racism, not just here, but in the other parts of the world as well?
So before I jump into that, I want to finish up with the affirmative action and the legacy admissions. You know, so after they, overturned the affirmative action, a lawyer filed a lawsuit against Harvard for legacy admission. So they don't have a problem with legacy admissions. And for those of you who are watching who don't know what legacy admission is, so that means if I went to Harvard and my child wants to go to Harvard, my child automatically gets in because I went to Harvard. And that child will be a legacy. And not only are there, legacy admissions, but they're also paid admissions. So if your family has enough money and they can donate and they can build buildings and they can renovate buildings, you're automatically automatically allowed to be admitted into Harvard. So so they had a problem with Black people being centered at affirmative action, and Asians and Latinos and things, but I'm not speaking for the Asian community. I'm not speaking for the Latino community. I'm strictly speaking for the Black community. But not only were we adept and we could handle the business, we had the intellect to support everything that we brought forth at the table to enter Harvard. But a lot of these people who are at Harvard, who are legacies, they're not even smart enough to even compete and hang in the same, classes in the same pool as a Black person who is legitimately there based off of their intellect. So, I mean, if you want to get rid of affirmative action, you need to get rid of legacy admissions as well. But guess what? They're not going to get rid of legacy admissions because, a good old Master son is going to go and he's going to attend Harvard because that's what Master attended. So he wants his son to become a legacy, and so he's gonna get that Harvard degree so he can have that Harvard behind his name. So let's just call a spade, and let's just call BS when we see it, because that's exactly what it is, BS. But like I said, the major recipient of the affirmative action was white women. So now white women, what are you going to do? Because guess what? Black women are not going to step up and fight this battle because, Mark, every time they get their panties in a bunch, they always want Black women to step up and, run the road, run the seed, and, fight their battles. Guess what? I'm not. And I don't. And even when they had the little feminist thing, they're running around the pink hats. I don't support that because you're the same white women who put Trump in office. You're the same white women who wanted Brett Kavanaugh in office, although that they were sex offenders and they molested women and things like that. Y'all the same white women that voted the Virginia governor in office who supported everything that white supremacy stand for. So guess what? When your husband's at home whooping your asses, excuse my language, Dad, whipping your asses and things like that, guess what? We're going to stand back and we're going to let you. We're going to let them. So we're going to watch. We're going to have a seat at the table. All right. Now, transitioning over to what you were saying, Mark. I don't think it's going to be an issue with, like the Muslim community retaliating and things like that or whatever, because you have to understand that these are the scare tactics that they use in order to justify force behind the police and force behind, what they're doing. So they're now trying to put out a narrative. The Muslims are going to attack. These people are going to attack. These people are going to attack. Ain't nobody attacking y'all. That's what you believe, because that's what y'all would do. And a lot of people were saying that, the police over there is now adapting the way that the police over here in America is doing, people and treating people and things like that. Well, it has already, it's always been there. And the issue is you people fail to realize and you people fail to acknowledge, because when we said it as the Black community, oh, what did they say? Most of them when they come over here to the country, oh, that ain't got nothing to do with us. So guess what? That over there, France, that ain't got nothing to do with us.
He is picking up stuff that doesn't have to do with people and everything. We said we're going to get into this yesterday, so I'm going to bring it up now and all along those lines. But there are a group of individuals, sometimes some brothers, sometimes some sisters, that really like getting together with folks from other nationalities. They are not always supportive of their own. And I'm not just talking about white women, but there are also some brothers and some sisters that love themselves some Asian women and Asian men, and love themselves some Latin women and Latin men, and all in that space. So I just wondering your thoughts. Is this a trend we're going to see from some of our millennials and Gen Zs, or is this something that is just a passing in the night fantasy? Because, sometimes people like to go through the ice cream truck and see what kind of different flavors they can get in their life. And I know some people that have done that, whether it's hair color or whether it's ethnicities or a number of other things. And then sometimes they settle on home. But sometimes there are folks that like that environment. We're talking about Clarence Thomas. He married himself a white woman, but I do know that there's some folks that are out there loving themselves some Asian folks. They think that Asian women are more submissive. They think that they will not give as much talk back, and sometimes they think that they are more exotic for whatever reasons and whatever exotic means to them and everything. But what are your thoughts about this notion of this trend of more and more interracial relations and folks that are loving the exotic nature of the Asians? And I would even throw some of the African nations in that as well. But what are your thoughts of folks that are?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna start with the latter first. We're gonna start with the African nations. Yeah. So a lot of the African nations are being infiltrated by the Asian population and things like that or whatever. And so it was a calculated infiltration in order to get the men married so that they could become African citizens and so that they can, pretty much kind of take over and, get into their government, get into, different things and stuff. And I'm not saying that people don't marry for love, but I know for a fact that this is what was brought up some years ago, that the Asian men was purposely seeking out, different African women so that they could basically infiltrate the African culture and the African continent for a greater plan. So, so it could be, some of them are, falling through the cracks and they actually married for love. But I know it was an agenda. A lot of, I want to say one or two of the African countries went into an agreement with China, with some of the Asian countries. And they got these massive loans that these people know that they can't pay back. So they're, and in terms, they get to own the ports and manage the ports, the police, the stations, the roadways. And, it was an astronomical deal that shouldn't have gone through. But that was that. As far as, everybody else, Black women, we honestly don't care, because if it's going to be a Black man for us, it's a Black man for us. And if the other ones want, women of other nationalities, guess what? They can go out and have them. But the problem that we have as Black women, and when I say I speak for the nation in the denomination of Black women, we just don't care if you date outside of your race. Leave us out of it. You don't have to, use us as an scapegoat to say that this is why I'm dating outside of my race. If you want an interracial woman, if you want an Asian woman, you want a Latina, you want any other woman other than a Black woman, just go do it because that's your preference. But don't be like, oh, Black women are loud, Black women are this. Hell, we already know we loud. We came into the world loud. Our voices got to be heard. We already know that. I'm loud. Most Black women are loud. You know what I'm saying? So our voices must be heard. But at the end of the day, when you over there fetishizing about your little Asian woman, your little Latina, your white woman and things like that, who's out in the street marching and protesting and protecting your asses? Black women. It's always Black women that's out in the streets. So that's why when we talked about the young man who was killed by his white girlfriend and the family wanted the Black women and the Black community to step up, and we was like, get somebody else to do it. We wasn't supporting him because brother man said that a Black woman couldn't do nothing for him. So even in death, brother, we're not doing nothing for you. We're honoring your wish. We're not doing absolutely nothing for you. So, my thing is, be careful what you say because, sometimes your words going to come back and haunt you and bite you, nip you in the butt, So be careful about what you say and when you say it and whom you're saying it to, because you never know.
Speaking of being...
come back to this nation of Black women, so that's the only issue that we have with men, Black men, is when they try to blame Black women as to the reason why they're dating outside their race. We don't give two rats asses if you date outside your race. We could care less. 9 times out of 10, guess what? You're probably the bottom of the barrel anyway, and we wouldn't even want you. So guess what? White women, Asian women, Latina women, y'all getting the men that we don't want. Okay, so y'all getting the scrubs, honey.
You said that they're getting the folks at the bottom of your shoe and everything. But I got another question for you that actually involves your city, your favorite city, and all in that space. But it is in the news today. We actually didn't talk about it on the news story because I just actually saw this news story. But it is an interesting notion, and I want to hear your thoughts about it because there are a number of museums around the country that are African American oriented. I work at one, the Hayti Center. I'm not there today because it's the holidays, the 4th of July, and all in that space. So they did take a few days off. There's one, of course, the famous one up there in DC, and there are several around the country. But there is a New Orleans Museum of Art that apparently is facing some sharp criticism because it is definitely seen as an African American beacon of opportunity and a beacon of activity, and they hired a white woman as their African art curator and all in that space. So I'm thinking it might be a right one organization, but they are hiring a white woman to be the curator for African art rather than hiring a African American. And the museum announced Thursday the hiring of Amanda Maples. And of course, the websites, Facebook and Instagram, are expressing some serious disappointment because they're like, hey, there are enough candidates that are in that society that could actually run this particular agency and show some of the art in a historical light and in a positive light. And I'm not saying that Miss Maple won't, but there are a number of folks
Oh,
that
she
are
won't.
frustrated and were
She's gonna
wondering
whitewash
why
it.
she got the job, because it's definitely, she apparently even used to work in North Carolina. It's curated the global African art. So it's not her first time running one of these programs, but she's coming down yours way, even though she used to be here and
Well,
everything.
I'm gonna just say this. We don't have to support it. At the end of the day, they're gonna put who they want in there. We don't have to spend our money there. We don't have to, like entertain it or anything like that. So we have to learn not to support things that we don't agree with. And if that's something that they don't agree with, which I don't agree with it, I think it should be a black man or a black woman or someone of black African Creole heritage to disseminate the information. But again, they'll put a unqualified white woman in a position to, give them the opportunity, but they won't put a qualified black in the position to give them the experience and the opportunity. So I just say, like, don't support it. Don't attend. And if it's a paid museum, definitely don't spend no money there. So we have to send a strong message. Like I tell people all the time, you have to follow the money. And when you're spending your money, and we as a black community and the delegation of the black community, and we spend like $1.5 trillion per year on things entertainment, we have to send a strong message. So when we start tapping into them pockets, then they'll start responding and being more responsive to what we got going on.
No, I agree. And this article also brings up a term that was brought up on one of our news shows, and the gentleman one white gentleman, another one that was from Asian American kind of Asian background, who's not Asian American, but Asian kind of background, since he has some Fijian and other things in his family line. They were thinking that this term did not exist. But in this article about that museum in New Orleans, they mentioned microaggressions, and they mentioned racist incidents way back in the George Floyd incident, because they actually had a Instagram account that was called
Mhm.
Dismantle and Dismantle Noma, which is the museum that I'm talking about. And at that time, they got some pushback because of the microaggressions and racist incidents that took place there that were reported by staff members. And then they said we can do better and we will. And we were able to rehire, and this was before they hired this particular lady. We are 100% committed to expanding the diversity of our staff in every department at all levels. But I guess the question, and later on, 3 years later, they wrote on their Instagram, diversifying the museum staff across all departments is an ongoing process, and there's always more work to do. But like I said, I was talking to these two gentlemen, one that was definitely white, might have been a second one, but definitely it was only the two of them. And they were saying microaggressions didn't exist. As a sister that works in education, can you tell me or talk to them, because they're probably listening to this show, what a microaggression is and how microaggressions do exist? Because they were thinking that it's a lip service word that we use that is not the reality.
No, it's not a lip service or anything like that. But microaggressions definitely exist. It's just little nuances, it's little sly ways that they do things, it's little things that they say, that you really have to, catch up on and pay attention to. That they bring out subtle racism. That's what I call it. Subtle racism is not really it is overt, but it's not as overt as a true redneck racist. But they do it in a subtle way in order to get their things done. And so anytime you're dealing with white women, you're going to have to deal with microaggressions, because that's what they do. Anytime we say anything, oh my God, they're clutching the pearls and they're offended. I mean, like I experienced something like that last year on the job. We were having a meeting and I voiced my opinion and things like that. And the second that we had the meeting, I told my work bestie, I was like, she's going to go to the principal. She's going to say this and she's going to say that, and she's going to do the X, Y, and Z. And it wasn't even like a day later. Everything that I told her was going to happen actually happened. So, I mean, I really don't deal with them, because I know I can get raw in the paint, and I know that I have a slick, fly mouth, and I know that, I don't hold anything back or whatever. So that's why I just don't deal with them in the workplace, because I don't have time for the foolishness or whatever. I don't know if I told you about the experience that I had this past year. One of the officers and I were having a conversation about the song within NWA, and what they said about fuck the police. So we were discussing it, and we were talking about how we can, get the kids to talk about, their feelings, their trauma, their experiences and things like that. So she went back and told the administrator, hey, Dr. Anthony is, going around the school talking about fuck the police and this, that, and the other. So the administrator came and asked me, she was like, well, Dr. Anthony, did you say, fuck the police? I said, yeah, I did. I was like, what? I'm grown. If I say it once, I can say it again, but it wasn't said in that capacity. We were having a conversation, and we were talking about things and ways that we can engage the children and how they feel, because at the end of the day, it's about how the children feel. It's about the children. It's not about, and you being offended and things like that because she has somebody who worked in the police force. I don't care if you got two people who work in the police force. It could be your husband and your grandpappy and your granddaddy who work in the police force. I could care less. You know what I'm saying? It's about the children and what they feel and their experiences. And I say this all the time. I don't believe white people should be in a predominantly minority community or minority setting, because you're pushing off your microaggressions on those minorities. I was in a elementary school, and I changed my hair. We black women, we change our hair every 5 minutes or whatever. Yeah. So the Asian chick, she comes up to me, oh, Dr. Anthony, I like your hair. Can I touch it? And before I could even have a response, she put her hands in my head. And so, what you don't do is you don't touch a black woman hair, regardless if wig, weave, yours, theirs, ours, or whomever. You don't touch a black woman's hair. So I had to collect myself, and I had to catch myself, because, Mark, I have a quick right. Although I'm Dr. Anthony, I'm Pastor Sibley's daughter, I still have a quick right, and he knows his children will fight. So I had to collect myself, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go about it the politically correct way. I'm going to, inform the administrator and let her know what happened. And she wasn't the only one. It was like about 2 or 3 of them. So apparently they had been having conversations about Dr. Anthony and her hairstyle. So every time I walk down the hall, here come an Asian lady. Oh, Dr. Anthony, I like your hair. Can I touch? And before I could even respond, you don't put your hand in my head. So I'm just like, don't touch me. If I don't like you like that, do not touch me. I have a problem with people touching me, and my family will tell you this. I don't like people touching me. When I was getting fellowship into my father's church, I asked him, do they have to hug me? Do they have to touch me? And he was like, please just let the people fellowship you into the church. Please, please. So I have a problem with people touching me. And especially if I don't have a relationship with you, but you stuck your hand in my head. So that was an issue. So they just feel like that they can say and do anything to, black women, and we're just supposed to sit there and we're just supposed to take it, and we're not supposed to say anything. And what I noticed also is, when you don't let people walk over you, and when you don't let people handle you, they term you as a problem. They term you as an issue. And I'm the one. People know I'm very voiceful. I don't let people handle me. In a sense, I don't let people walk over me. I don't let people talk to me crazy, because my thing is, we're all adults. If I'm not talking to you crazy, you're not going to talk to me crazy. And if you handle me in a capacity, guess what? Be ready for that comeback, because it's coming. And I warn people before the storm. I always tell them, do not push me to that limit. Do not cross that line, because once that crazy bitch come out from Louisiana, you're not going to stop her. She's a whole different beast. She's a whole different ball game. So you don't want to see that side of me. You know what I'm saying? So I let them know, you get the professional side. That's the side that you always want to keep. You don't want to see that crazy side, because once that crazy side come out, it's on and popping at that point. And it's no taking it back. So I tell people all the time, that's why I stick to myself when I'm at the workplace. I stay in my room all day. I go out to use the restroom. If I'm needed downstairs, I go out and, take care of what I have to take care of. I engage with the children. I really don't engage with the adults, because the adults would make me put my hands on them. But, with the white women, it's always those little subtle remarks and things like that or whatever. I remember once we were taking up money for the administrator, right? So this white woman made the comment, oh, I'm not giving that bitch anything. You know what I'm saying? So I just looked at her. Okay, so you feel that free to say that about my administrator who happens to be a black woman. You would say something similar about me when I'm not in your presence. So I'm just like, okay, well, let me just keep my distance because I already know if you say anything out of the way that I don't like, 9 times out of 10, either you're going to get a tongue lashing or you're going to catch this right. So whichever one happened first. So I just tell people all the time, leave me alone, leave me out of it, because if you don't want me to say anything, don't engage me. Just
No,
don't, just leave me out.
no,
Honestly.
that makes a lot of sense. There is a comedian. I'm not familiar with the comedian. Maybe if when Miss Ida gets here on next week, she can tell us if she has performed or gotten association with the comic. But it is a comic that apparently is getting some good play and some good publicity because apparently they are not holding back any conversation, including conversations around white privilege, even though they are Canadian, born to Somalian parents. But I didn't know whether you had heard of this woman named Hoodoo Hersey, but apparently she's been on the comic circuit for 12 years and is a Muslim comic. And they were saying that folks are not used to seeing a black woman in a hijab wittily riffing on white privilege and the most excellent qualities about the Caucasian culture. So it is definitely a distinctive niche in the comedy world, and we know that the comedy world lately has been very much of a white male-dominated field. So apparently, she is making some noise by telling her reality and definitely standing for her reality as well. So I was wondering if you had heard of this woman and if you've seen any of her bits, and maybe we'll get her to be a special guest one of these times on this show.
No, probably not. My thing is, Mark, with that, like I said all the time, everybody wants to be black until it's time to be black. And what I have an issue with, with other cultures coming into this country is, they want to look down upon us as, blacks and things like that or whatever. So I don't really support people like that. Because my thing is, without our struggle and without everything that we have gone through and without everything that we are going through, you wouldn't be able to stand freely and say what the hell you want to say. So I have never heard of her. I probably would never look her up and things like that or whatever. And I probably would never support her, because my thing is, like, you want to align with the black community and you want to align with black people to, support what you got going on. But when we're out there, when we're being gunned down in the street, or what you say, oh, y'all should have listened to the police. Oh, y'all should have done this. Y'all should have done that. You know what I'm saying? And it has nothing about listening to the police. We can be in our car. The young black man was in his car asleep. They shot him in the car asleep. We can abide by the law, and they're still shooting us down in the street. So my thing is, whatever you got going on, keep it pushing. Keep what you got going on, because I probably won't listen to you and I probably won't support you. Period.
No, but what if they are, like I said, she's of Somalian descent, so apparently she is
but
black.
Like I said, Mark, yeah, most of the Africans, most of the black people that are coming into the country are of some type of African descent. But you played a video of this African, well, was she Jamaican, African, or whatever, and they're clearly they say that our struggles, they have nothing to do with our struggles. So when something happens and they want our support, we can't support you, because clearly our struggles has nothing to do with you. So, but they fail to realize that our struggles from our ancestors that predates us is the reason why they're able to come into this country and work and get jobs, and they're able to voice their opinions. Because without us going through those struggles, without, George Floyd being a martyr, and, things like that, without Dr. Martin Luther King being a martyr, you wouldn't even have the capacity and the platform to stand on the ground that you're standing on without the predecessors who were there, who predated you. So that's my issue with that. They want to come into the country and say that they can't relate to the black experience. Oh, but when reality sets in, and then they are brought back to the realization that, oh, just because I came from Africa, I'm still black. You know what I'm saying? And I get the black experience. Now I want to align with the black community. Nah, kick rocks. We ain't aligning.
The flip side of that is that I've seen some brothers and sisters that say that when they have gone to Africa, they have felt treated more like kings than queens than they are actually here. That they get a lot of respect and a lot of dignity in those other countries, that
may be true. That may be true, because I've never visited Africa, so it's on the bucket list, but it's like down on the bucket list. I got some other places that I got to go before, I visit Africa and things like that. And I'm not saying all. I'm just saying the majority. You know, the majority of them, some Africans, they get on YouTube, they get on TikTok, and they make videos and they say that, you know, they support Black Americans and they want us to, you know, form an allegiance. But you have the other ones who are saying that, you know, that our struggle has nothing to do with them. I mean, I had to put some parents in their place. I've taught a lot of, you know, African children directly from Africa, first generations American over here. And, you know, they're quick to tell me, oh, you know, my child is not Black, you know, and I'm just like, how your child not Black? Your skin color say Black. Your skin color doesn't say African. It says Black. When we go out into society, when they look at me, when they look at you, it says Black. So they're not listening for your speech. They're looking at your skin color. So either you can align with us or you can be against us. And if you're against us, when something happens to you, we're not going to support you. And we made that clear with the African brother who said that Black women could not do anything for him when he was killed by his white girlfriend.
Yeah, I remember that and everything. We got a couple people that have been speaking that, and I got to get their words in, and also some shout outs as well. With your good friend Barry was talking about Bo Derek, and I do remember Bo Derek saying that Bo Derek started a lot of that drama with the whites acting Black and gone way too far since. And there are a number of times that you will go down the street. He didn't say this, but I will make this observation, and you will hear some folks bopping to some serious rap, or even some serious gangster rap, and you are expecting to turn and see some brothers from the hood here in Durham or some other folks, and it's little Miss Muffet from the white community or some Joe Blow from the suburbs that is in there just enjoying themselves. Some of our rap legends as well as some of our other legends, because definitely there can be some appropriation of our music that goes on as well. So just that quick
definitely appropriation.
And then we got Nicole Burgess that was giving you some love, and yeah, and Stevie O was saying hello, Dr. Anthony. And let me get to the chat, because you had a whole lot of folks that were giving loves or likes, but we have Missy Moss, then Wallace Johnson. They gave you love.
Sure, y'all go out and support her business on Etsy. She has a store. We're gonna get her to be on the show one of these days, whenever our schedules can align, so she can talk about what she does, and so we can support her business. So yes, make sure you support her store. I post every time she make a post, I share. So make sure you guys check her out.
So Missy Moss and Wallace Johnson. Apparently Missy Moss has got that store. We're going to learn more about that later on. Mm-hmm. And we've also got Cynthia Harrison giving us a like, and Dr. Shavonda Davis gave love.
Hi, Dr. Shavonda. That's my sweetheart. I love her so much.
And Mark Lewis also gave some likes.
Hi, Mark. We got to get you on the show to talk about your book.
Oh, what's his book about?
He wrote a children's book. So we'll let him discuss his children's book when we interview him and talk about it on the show. I don't want to give anything away, so we'll talk about that, you know, when he comes on the show. But you know, like I said, you know, white people and other people of different cultures, they always want to be Black until it's time to be Black. So you know, one of the things that I saw with Don Lemon was this Indian man. He was a Sikh, one of them or whatever, from the Indian nation. So he was trying to school Don Lemon on how to be Black in America. And I'm just like, the audacity of you trying to tell a Black man about Black history and, you know, the things that we have endured since Reconstruction on how to be Black in America. And so that's my thing. You know, I hate when other races of people try to tell Black women and Black men how to feel and how to think when we're subjected to the racism and, you know, the microaggressions that we're experiencing and things like that. That is one of my pet peeves, and that makes my blood boil, is when they do things like that. And on the show, on the clip, he actually was trying to tell Don Lemon that, you know, Black people wasn't suffering from the way that Don was saying. And Don was like, how are you going to tell me about the Black experience? I am a Black man. Oh, no, you're incorrect. You're incorrect. And I'm just like, the audacity for him to, you know, come on national TV and try to tell Black people about their Black experience. So that's why I always say, when the federal government gets involved, my Black tax dollars need to stay right here. My Black tax dollars don't need to go over to Ukraine and fight and fight a war. My Black tax dollars need to pay off those student loans for those young children who need those student loans paid off. That's where my Black dollars need to go. They don't need to go across the nation and things like that. And so, because we didn't even address the student loans, but let's go ahead and bring it into the plate right now.
Well, we definitely want to get to the student loans, but before we get to the student loans, just really quickly on Don Lemon, it seems like some people are giving Don Lemon a hard time because he is over there vacation in the Hamptons, and apparently he is vacationing with a gentleman there in the Hamptons. So folks are trying to make all kinds of accusations and all kinds of thoughts and all of this space.
He's married. That's his husband. He can vacation with his spouse, right? I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was against the rules of a vacation with your spouse. I'm not gonna go on vacation with mine, So I'm just saying, like, people. And that's another thing that irritates me. People want to tell you how you should live and how you should spend your money. When I'm over here buying my clothes and I'm out here grinding and making these dollars, you're not over here grinding and making these dollars with me. So you don't get the right, and you don't have the right to tell me how to spend my money. This man has earned his due. He has paid his dues. So he has a right to spend his money the way that he wants to spend his money. Now, if he want to lay up in the Hamptons with his husband, he has every right to lay up in the Hamptons with his husband. If I want to lay up in the Hamptons with my husband, at some point, I have the right to lay up in the Hamptons with my husband or wherever, Bermuda, wherever. That's where I'm going to be laying up, with my husband. But I mean, people, it's just, you want to tell people what to do with their money and their things and their life. You don't get that privilege. You're not there.
But that's the funny thing is you got a lot of folks that want to legislate what goes on in the bedrooms and all in that space. And last time I checked, they're not in the bedrooms. There are a number of things that go on in the bedrooms that technically are against the law, but I know that there are activities that are against the law that many of us might even enjoy and all in that space. But it's our business whether we do those activities or don't do those activities.
But my thing is your sexuality and your sexual preference has nothing to do with me. I don't care who you're scoring. You can sleep with whomever. You can go out there and run a train on whatever. You can have a train ran on you. It has nothing to do with me. What I'm worried about is my interaction with you, how you treat me as a person. Are you kind? Are you respectful? Can we vibe like that? Because that's the only thing that matters to me. Who you screwing has nothing to do with me. At the end of the day, when I'm being judged by God, you're gonna be judged by God too. Because I know I've done some things that I'm not supposed to do. I've been in relationships with married men and things like that or whatever, which I know is wrong and stuff. So who am I to sit here and say that somebody can't love who they want to love when I've done just as much as egregious and crazy things as the next person? So I can't sit here and judge a person off of who they're sleeping with, because if we really want to get real and really want to get technical about it, all these ministers out here sleeping with the church members, and these deacons are sleeping with the church members, the choir members. They're sleeping around with each other. If we really want to get real about it, so how can we sit here and say as a human that somebody can't sleep with who they want to? That's on you. Whatever you do in your bedroom is on you. It has nothing to do.
No, I agree with you, Dr. Anthony, but there's so much double standards that go on with these people trying to legislate and trying to enforce rules that they don't want enforced on them, and are trying to make decisions based on their sense of morality and their sense of whatever. And at the end of the day, we're not the ones that make those final decisions. For those that are supporters of the God notion and the higher power, that's who makes the final decision in that sense. And if there isn't one of those, for those that don't believe in that, then the final decision will be the end of your existence, if that's the sense of the beliefs that you want to have. I personally want to think that we go on to
right, but I mean, again, if we're going to bring God into it, let's talk about God. Let's talk about how the white people use the Bible to manipulate the enslaved people. Let's talk about how they use the Bible to justify their behaviors. Let's talk about how they use the Bible to do all these things that they're doing. If we want to really bring God into in the Bible into it, because they're changing the word of God to appease what they want. And to appease, their behaviors and their thought processes, if we really want to be real about it. But again, at the end of the day, whatever God that you praying to, That's your God that you are praying to. You know, I pray to my God and I have my beliefs. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the next person. Those are my beliefs, and it's you know what I believe in things like that. And I'm just gonna, you know, leave it at that, because you know, at the end of the day, it's about your interaction with me, how you treat me. Are you nice to me, or you know, are we vibing, are we down, or any of those things. I could care less who you're screwing in the bedroom. And I have a lot of gay friends, and we have conversations. We talk about things, and nothing is offensive. Because my thing is, if you don't ask questions, how you gonna learn? How you gonna know? You know what I'm saying? So you know, like I said, as long as my people are treating me the way that I want to be treated, and I'm respectful to them, that's all that matters. You know, at the end of the day, when it's Judgment Day, it's you and God. It is not me and you and God. It's you and God. So that's just the bottom line to it.
No, I agree. That is the bottom line. Like I saw a couple of folks at the Eno on July 1st, which is a music festival that I usually do the MCing for, and there were definitely some folks that were in that gay population, and they were definitely getting their dance grooves on and all in that space. And like you said, I just said, "Hey, you doing you, I'm doing me," and at the end of the day, that's everybody's having a good time and is being respectful, and as long as that's what's going on, that's all that counts at the end of the day. Now, you did say we're going to get to this before we wrap up and everything, but you know, the other elephant in the room that was going on with this whole notion of student loan forgiveness and all in that space. Some people are hot because they're like, hey, wait a minute, I got a Pell Grant, or I got this grant and that grant, and I didn't have my loan forgiven, or I went off and spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to become a doctor, lawyer, or an Indian chief, and I didn't get my loans forgiven. And then we've had the whole conversation around public or private universities, because there were some folks that got their loans forgiven because they got burned by none other than Trump University and all in that space. So what are some of your thoughts about this latest decision that doesn't seem favorable, but there seems like there is a backup plan that is in place to try to help some folks, even though they struck down the initial plans of helping folks that had gotten burned by school loans?
Well, he can always, you know, implement an executive order, but you know, to the people who paid your student loans back, more power to you. You know, but it's people out here that, you know, were sold a dream, and they didn't have they don't have that dream. So those people should have their student loans dismissed. I mean, you know, I'm in the process of getting mine dismissed, because I told them when I got the student loans that I wasn't paying them back, because you know, I'm Black in America. Y'all owe me reparations, so go ahead and run me my money. So but at the end of the day, you know, these young people, they need help. And in order for us to survive as a society and as a culture, we need to help those young people out, because, you know, we are the older generation. We're dying off. You know, young people are dying off. The elderly is dying off. And we need people to be in positions of, you know, economic stability in order to, you know, take our jobs, take our positions and things like that. And then, you know, to purchase homes, purchase condos, to purchase townhomes, and our young people are not in those positions because they're bogged down with, you know, debt. And the thing that pisses me off the most is, you won't say that it's unconstitutional for you to write off the student loans, but it wasn't unconstitutional for you when you got the millions of dollars in PPP loans and y'all got them dismissed. It wasn't unconstitutional when you got those other loans and y'all got them dismissed. It wasn't unconstitutional when y'all bailed the banking system out and they didn't have to pay the money back. It wasn't unconstitutional when y'all still got loans, and it's a lot of Republicans that received loans that were dismissed that they don't have to pay back. So you're going to say for a student that it's unconstitutional for you to pay $20,000 towards that student's, you know, towards that student's future. But see, that's the problem that I have when people talking about, oh, I vote Republican and this, and the other. You know, my thing is, you vote against your own best interest every time that you pull that lever box on or pencil in any Republican name. You vote against your own best interest, and I have a problem with that. You know, and they're always talking about the Democrats and the Republicans and things like that. But they have to understand, the Republicans and the Democrats basically switched roles. The slaves took up on the party of Lincoln because he was a Republican at the time the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1865. They took up on that role. So when as we progress throughout history, I'm giving y'all some history lessons today. As we progress throughout history, the Democrats and the Republicans basically switched sides. The Republicans became the grand old party, and so they started representing the Ku Klux Klan members. They started representing the good old boys, and they started representing, the Proud Boys and all this stuff, if we want to put it in today's terms. And so, my thing is, for any person, you have the right to choose whatever party you want to vote with. You have that right. But my thing is, you're voted against your own best interest every time you elect a Republican. Every time you put a Republican in office, they're voted against women's best interest. So my thing is, how can you vote and support somebody who tells a woman what they can and cannot do with their body? Like, who does that? Make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? But, all these Republicans received all these loans and they were dismissed. But you have a problem with a student receiving $20,000 that the government was going to give back so that they could receive that money in help, so that they could get out of debt, and so that we could further the economy. Make it make sense.
I can't make it make sense, but then again, you mentioned something else that has been trying to make sense for a while, and definitely a lot of folks would love to get to the money. Some folks say that it is not fair to us to get the money, but I don't know where that is coming from. But definitely it looks like San Francisco is moving straight forward ahead with reparations. And as a matter of fact, a member of the San Francisco Committee on Reparations for Slavery blasted white man as a dangerous society, according to multiple reports, also claiming that white supremacy is ingrained in America's DNA. So it's is something that is Nicole Cunningham has been putting out there and all in that space. And apparently she had some other comments because she alleged white people in general still benefit from the harm caused by their ancestors. And I know that you brought that up as well. So there are a number of things that she has brought up, and even brought up the shootings in the schools, majority done by white gentlemen as well. But I don't know any thoughts about California reparations, because apparently the panel has approved payments of up to $1.2 million to every Black resident in that particular state and everything. So we'll see whether it actually gets
it's more power to California. They did approve it, but now they're trying to say that if they pay it, it's going to bankrupt California. But I hope and pray that they are able to get the money. But I mean, 1.2 million is really not a lot when you think about California and the cost of living and the homes and things over there or whatever. But I am in hopes that Black residents do receive their reparations. As with all Blacks, we should receive reparations. Foundational Blacks, not the Blacks that are just migrating to the country. Foundational Blacks who's been here, whose ancestors were here, and whose people fought, during the time of the Civil Rights Movement, before the Civil Rights Movement, during Reconstruction, during the Renaissance period, during all those periods of time throughout history. Those people and those legacies should receive, some type of reparations.
Yeah, one of the things he said is that the white people need to come to grips with their ancestry and take initiatives in facilitating change for equality. I actually was I wasn't on, but I was watching a friend's live stream, I think a Facebook Live yesterday, and they actually played a video of a white woman. And I might try to find that for next week's show, where the white woman on her Instagram account was basically doing what you do often, which is calling out the white ladies for being complicit in what they do in terms of supporting some things that are against their own interests. And like I said, I need to talk to Pam Purefoy, who does a regular weekly conversation, to see where that video came from. But I do know it was on Instagram, and I'll see if I can dig it up, because it was definitely her panel. I think she had 3 panelists. All were agreed with what the lady was saying, and definitely found that she was hard-hitting and made some very valid points in that are similar to points that you and Miss Ida and others have made as well, myself included. So I'll see if I can find that for next week, and maybe we'll play that, since we didn't play any videos on this particular episode. But definitely there were some strong conversational points that were made that I think a lot of folks will resonate with when they see that particular video.
Almost definitely. I mean, white women got to come to the terms and come to grips with the fact that they are complicit in, all of this stuff that's going on. I mean, they always want to talk about Black women and how they're parenting and things like that or whatever. And also for next week, we're going to talk about the Black mama that's being charged in Virginia with the child who brought the gun to school. So we're going to talk about that and the difference between the white women with their children being, bringing guns to school. But, they have to understand that they're complicit in a lot of this stuff, and they want to, oh, no, that's not me. I'm not a racist. No, you're very much a racist. All white people are racist. And, I understand that you have some good white racists and you have some bad white racists, but they're all racist because, my thing is let them get upset with you. And then their true colors are going to show. But, they got to understand that, because I tell people all the time, I don't like white people. I don't like black people. I don't like Asians. I don't like Latinos. I don't like a lot of people. And it's because of my interaction with the person. That's the reason why I don't like them. Not because of your, your race or whatever. It's because I had an interaction with you and that made me not like you. It wasn't because, oh, I'm a white woman, she just doesn't like me. No, I don't like you because of how we interacted together. And you just happen to be a white woman. So I don't like you for that reason, and I let people know that, I stand firm on my position. I'm not going to change who I am and, what I think and my thought processes because it may hurt your feelings. Then don't watch my show. It's not for you. If you're offended by something that I say or something that is taking place on here, this show is not for you. This show is primarily created to address Black issues, to support Black women, and to support Black, things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. It wasn't created for any other reason except for to bring the light to Black issues and Black trauma and Black things that we go through. And that's the primary point of this show. And if you don't like it, kick rocks. I don't care. It's not for you. Everything is not for you. And that's just the bottom line, period. And so we got about 30 seconds and I want to, thank everybody for tuning into the show. Make sure you should tune in on next Monday. We're going to dig down deeper in this race issue and talk about the double standards when it comes to white women and Black women and how we parent children and how they parent children. And we're going to talk about the mental capacity of the mass shooters and the mental capacity of Black children and how they perform and how they behave. We're going to talk about their aggressions when we spank our children that they become aggressive and they become violent. But white women don't spank theirs and they become mass shooters. So we're gonna do a comparative analysis and see where who holds the most BS and who holds the most craziness when it comes to their theories and notions. So I want to make sure you guys click like and share. And the clock on the wall says that's all. And Mark and I will be back next week, and Ida will definitely join us, and we may have a guest. Who knows? But thank you for tuning in, and deuces. Bye.
Deuces, and we're out of here.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.